in theory is kind of not pure, volume based, but out of convenience of the residents and of the staff, they've kind of waived the bulky item as an issue.
So they just pick that.
They just pick it up at no charge, and you don't have to call in, and that's over their 25 years. That seemed to have worked the best. But you do have to buy the bags for household garbage. If you can't fit it in the rollout cart, then you have to go and buy the bags.
One alternative to overflow bags would be the stickers instead of bags.
On the cans?
Or on that, where people supply their own bags, their own plain old Glad or Tidy bags.
Just print off stickers from the website, you could just have the money come through.
People
If they had to buy stickers.
Well, we could have stickers instead of selling uniform bags at Kroger. We could sell stickers at Kroger that say Frankfurt Trash on them or whatnot.
Or they could print them off their own printer.
Well, as long as there would be a way to make sure that people actually don't print unlimited stickers and actually pay for the amount of stickers they're printing. That would be the challenge. If we make it where people can print them themselves, then what would stop somebody from printing
I guess, yeah.
unlimited? As long as we're producing the stickers and selling them, as opposed to the bags, that would allow for overflow bags. Because people can take a standard trash bag, put the sticker on it. The stickers will sell for the same price as the Gainesville bags do. But then stickers would also allow for overflow for bulky items. You can put a sticker on a bulky item. You can't put a bulky item in a bag. That would be one option there.
One downside, in the Crestwood survey, the elderly that has one person in the household, just a minimal amount of trash was generated. The survey came back that they would want a smaller than a 65-gallon cart. So we went, and I can bring it in here if you want me to. It's got to be the same height as the bigger carts. For that.
For the sake
all
of
our trucks
automation.
are equipped with that arm that dumps it, so it's at the same height. But it's so narrow that the wind or an animal can very easily knock that very narrow, tall can over. So on one end, you're satisfying, I want a smaller can that's easier to pull down to the curb. But on the other hand, when you have bad weather, they're not very stable and they can very easily tip over. So just
where my father lives, he's 65% wheelchair bound. A little more than that. Should be more than that, but doesn't use them. The city comes to into his driveway at his house. Basically, they come to the garage door and pull it down.
Yeah.
And they pull it back. Because he's on the list.
Sure.
And they don't charge for that service. I don't know how frequent that would be, but to me, if there was a list. What they did is they spray painted his house number on the street a certain color. And anyone who has that, whoever's driving the truck knows they got to go up and grab the can and bring it back. And all they do is wheel it.
I guess what's your goal? There's no wrong answer. It's just what's your goal, because that goal would interfere with. I want to be very efficient, and
exactly.
So you have to kind of define what your goals are. And
but you can't get it down. You get it down the driveway, you can't get it back.
Well, other than the nature of the cans blowing over, this is just my personal preference, but I think that what are the smallest cans? They're 35, right? 35 gallon.
Currently, our ordinance states 32 gallon is what we mandate to be on the curb.
What are the smallest? What are the smallest Kirby cans available in practical terms? The smaller cans are ideal for two reasons. Because you want people to be able to pay as little as possible for as small a can as possible. You're trying to incentivize less waste than making the base level the smallest can possible, and then people upgrade from there is kind of the ideal. And also because it's not an uncommon complaint, but when the base level is a larger can, some folks just have a harder time handling. Some folks are really, in the county, for example, are really unhappy with the fact they have to haul around big old cans all the time, and they would really like some smaller option.
So they have a 35 gallon, 64 gallon, and 96 gallon. I can bring you a copy. I can roll that small one in just to so you can see it, because I think it's important to see it, because I'd never seen it. I didn't know what it looked like. And
Is it in the back yet?
It's in my office.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see it.
Because I couldn't conceptually, what is this mini can? What's it look like?
Do you know
I'm a
the
family of
county,
5, I'm using
gallons are we county?
Like 95.
How do you do use that?
Is it 60?
I don't know,
They're pretty big.
I was thinking they were 90.
I think they usually go in the 90
I
range.
mean, a person could
Yeah.
get. It's huge.
Yeah, we can do that on Halloween, scare the kids.
And lots of folks who recycle a lot really like having the larger recycling cans as opposed to the bins. So I don't see any reason we couldn't just order these in 2 different colors.
Yeah, I think so. And I
The
think
question is, what do we do about yard waste?
yeah, that's the next thing. And I have a couple of ideas. I was so impressed when we did the garbage forums with the Cooperative Extension Service. And one of the things that was it Kim Coward was her name. She came up to me afterwards and said, "Michael, anything that we can do to help you all in the future would be something that they would be very interested in." This, I think, would provide an outstanding opportunity for us to work with the Extension Service to promote urban composting in the city. That compost could be donated to the community garden system, or they could use it for their own gardens as they do that. And then to continue to offer some way of picking up yard waste. So I think that would be an opportunity for us to really grow our relationship with the Extension
What size
Service.
is it?
University of Kentucky had a big article in the paper. They're composting dead animals.
Oh, really?
Like the deer and the thing.
35, isn't it?
Like in 13 weeks they disappeared.
And the county's looking into doing that, the composting their own animals. They've been picking them up themselves. They used to contract that out.
Nation Brothers, but the
Yeah.
Nation Brothers quit doing it.
So now the county's doing it themselves, been looking into setting up a composting facility that could do the same thing that the case doing.
Pretty amazing then.
But right now, lots of folks are actually sending yard waste to the landfill,
Yeah.
and we need to have, if we're gonna discourage that, it should be discouraged. And we
Just chop it up. There shouldn't be any yard waste. Just chop it up.
We don't
Leave it
think
in
that
the yard.
was-
Yeah.
Get in it.
Well, sometimes you get brush.
Or the big
Sure.
Okay, the exhibits have arrived.
That big
Vanna White is here.
They don't have a 95. I've been done to we used to move.
What is that smallest size there? Is that the 30?
35.
Uh-huh.
Is that 35? Yeah, it's 65.
We used to 65.
I've got this one for recycling. It's
Oh.
really
I couldn't
good.
get in it. It's too high.
It's really.
That's probably a 35, Fred, that you're holding. That's a 35.
35?
35 gallon.
Yeah.
This is kind of a side note, but I read in the news a little while ago, because Lexington distributes carts, and I read that they had an excess of recycling Kirby's
Rosie's
that they were
or-
looking to unload. Is that relevant to us?
Yes.
Can we get those cheap from them?
Yes.
Sweet.
You might have to.
Tell them reduce for use.
You may have to like change out wheels and axles and lids, but I don't know. I've seen them before.
Yeah.
They're not pretty. They're scratched up and look
Yeah.
kind of used, but they're cheap.
I'm a
If
95.
they still have
Step
them.
on the street.
So in
I
terms
just
of
wanted to make sure we were aware
those.
those.
Yes.
That's cost effective. I'm all for it.
I was gonna s- in terms of moving this conversation forward, I guess we sort of discussed a little bit in terms of the code enforcement, and we've identified sort of, I'm assuming if the rest of the commission is agreeable, sort of parameters of what type of system we're interested in. More extensively on the, specifically on the code enforcement. I guess other than a general consensus, what specifically do you need from us?
I guess I needed what type of system. And it sounds like the rollout carts are the preferred way to do a volume system. One more issue that we learned from Gainesville, which might make sense, if you go to a volume-based program, what they found is the recycling carts that would, like this, people would try to cheat.
Yeah, right.
Because if it's in a cart, anything that they, rather than go buying the bags, the city offered the rollout carts for recycling as well, maybe in a different color, there are people that would throw their overflow over in their recycling cart because they wouldn't fit in what they chose.
Let's
And
just
so
find,
what
let's
they-
just find people for that.
It'd be code enforcement, but it's hard when you're in the truck and you, too late, it's dumped. So the
We cite
contamination.
property owners, not the tenants.
Pardon me, dear?
In property maintenance code world, we cite owners, not tenants. And Jeff enforces, 16/2001 is the current trash ordinance. And this is all enforced by Public Works. And they typically talk to the person who has the can, which is either the owner or the tenant. They don't care who actually owns the house. They want to know, they want to talk to the person filling it in. Right. And so that's a lot different from my world.
That raises a concern or a question that we need to consider. And I guess I'll go ahead and offer my 2 cents on it. If we can have the plant board handle this billing for us, then it seems like it would, because there's a question of who do you bill? Do you bill the tenant or the owner? And that's not predetermined when it comes to utilities. Plant board obviously sends out utility bills, and some landlords pay utilities, and some require tenants to pay utilities.
That's right.
And it seems like this could work in the same system if the plant board's handling the bill, that whoever pays the utilities handles the garbage fee, and just let that be between the landlords and the tenants. But
We had a discussion
Yeah.
with Russ 2 years ago, and he said if I was king and I was choosing, I would rather bill the property owner because chasing tenants is difficult.
Sure.
He did say that they have access to the PVA data just like we do, and that they could, in discussion of billing, they could bill the property owner. Now that might create a new bill because some of the parcels go to the renters when you sign up for utility service. But I don't know if it would. I think that's something they'll have the same information that we could maybe choose either. I'm not sure. That's been hashed out yet. So that's something that's one of the questions with the plant board. Can we do it? Is that our choice? Can we build the owner of the lot or the
I mean, given the opportunity,
And if there's a
renters
fine,
give people more options.
Plant board just sends a bigger bill.
In my experience, and I represent several privately owned wastewater treatment companies, it is a very difficult prospect to chase down tenants that don't pay their sewer fee. And you would have that same problem with the garbage fee because, of course, what happens is, and if you talk to anyone, and I've talked to a number of people who have to pay their property tax because we're entering into agreements to pay property taxes this year, and so I've talked to a number of landlords, and they're seeing a whole lot of movement in their tenants, where they'll stay for 2 or 3 months until and don't pay, and so then they evict them, and then they'll move to some other landlord's location, and so it makes it very difficult to try and collect from a tenant who's moving around. The other thing is, if the plant board does do the billing, there's a perception that if the garbage fee is on the same bill as the water bill, and also the cable TV bill, that if you don't pay the whole bill, then you're not going to get your water, and you're not going to get your cable TV. And a lot of times, the water and the cable TV is a lot more important than a sewer bill or a garbage bill. So if you can get them all in the same bill, you're much better off in terms of collection. I've seen several of my clients have, their collection problems are maybe 5%, where you have a water district that handles the billing. They'll send out their bill that contains the water and the sewer bill on the same bill. Whereas if you just send out the sewer bill all by itself, the collection problems are about 15%, and that can fluctuate based upon the type of neighborhood. If it's a neighborhood that has a traditionally transient population, then your collection issues are much more difficult than in a neighborhood where folks move in and stay there for a long time.